So today's tutorial is on how to set up the Inspire 1 so you can actually fly it and get the shots that you've always dreamed of. Carter will be our pilot for today and he'll talk about what goes on, and I'll be your professional model.
Professional model. Good at what he does. Okay, first thing you want to do is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to want to turn on your master controller. And it's beeping at me. So you sometimes.
Why is it beeping at you, Carter?
It's beeping at me because my thumb was on one of the accelerators, and it doesn't like that right when you turn it on in case your drone's moving for some reason. So it likes it to just don't touch the throttles when you turn it on.
And if it does beep, you just push the throttle down, correct?
Throttle down into the middle.
And now it comes with two controllers, at least if you're buying the standard kit.
Master and a slave.
We wrote it down right here because we'd always get it confused. How else can you tell it though if you don't write it on your controllers?
So the way to tell on the Inspire 1 is that they are actually two different colors on the light setup. This one will be red, and I'm going to show you guys. Beeping, same reason.
Hold the throttle down.
This one, if you can see that, we have a strawberry pink light on the slave. And on the master, we have a red light. Okay, you can fly the drone just fine with just one controller, but if you want to control the camera, you have to have both the master and the slave turned on, and we're gonna go over that later.
And this makes it so I can control the camera if I have this.
So the first thing that you wanna do when you get the drone out of the case is put the battery in. You're gonna turn it on. You press the button once and then hold it. It should beep at you as it's going to do right now. There it is, it's kind of loud. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is get it out of travel mode. The blue light means travel mode. When it's in the case, the only way it fits in the case is in travel mode. To do that, you're just going to flip this up and down 6 times. And as you see, the landing gear is lowering. It's probably going to pinch Devin's fingers unless I grab it.
Saved by the Bell, baby.
Saved
Shout out, Saved by the Bell. I stumbled on that one.
It's okay. So, what the drone is doing now is it is almost ready to fly. That blinking green light means that it can find a GPS signal. So don't let that fool you that it is okay to fly, because the first thing that you need to do, unless you've been flying all day, the first thing you do at the start of the day after you've gotten to this point is you need to calibrate the compass. As I like to call it, the ceremonial war dance. So to do that, I'm gonna have Devin come back out here just to hold it. He doesn't know how to do the war dance. It's very technical, so I'm not gonna let him do it. But what you need to do to get it into that mode, let them see the light, flip it around.
Okay. Light.
So what I'm going to do is this little button. This is GPS mode, assisted mode, and free flight mode. So I'm going to 6 times, again, move it back and forth. And I'm going to get a solid yellow light. That means that it is ready for the ceremonial war dance. Now, what you need to do that is just how the drone is. You pick it up off the ground. Usually it's on the ground. You don't have somebody hold it. And you spin around in a circle. And I'm going to do that until the light starts to blink green. Sorry, not blink green, solid green. I lied. Now what you have to do...
Can I be the model?
You can be the model. So now you need to put the drone nose down, like that, and you're gonna do the same thing. He wants to be the model, but he doesn't know the war dance, so I can't let him do it. So you're gonna do this. Usually you just have to go 360 degrees until the light starts blinking. My drone is now calibrated and it knows that this is where I'm flying. This is really important if you're moving more than, I would say, 2 or 3 miles away from locations. Worst case scenario, your drone wants to come home. This is the best way to ensure that. As I said earlier, that's not a feature we use for fear of losing our drones. Maybe that's irrational, but that's what we do. So now our compass is calibrated. We're ready to put on the rotors and get it up in the air. I'm gonna have my model come back in now. Putting on the blades, rotors. The main thing that you need to know is that the rotors have 2 different orientations. So their shape is different. They crisscross each other. So you have 2 types. You have just solid black, and you have black with a silver dot. They need to go opposite of each other. On the Inspire, the silver dot goes in the front right corner and the back left.
Wham, bam, super tramp, and I tipping up my hat while I boost the fans, and I have a...
Ta-da!
We're done.
There you have it, just like that. So it actually doesn't take too long. It takes about, what, 45 seconds?
A lot easier if it's on the ground and somebody's not holding it and moving their head like this a bunch of times. But you deal with what you're given.
We live and we learn.
So the next step.
Let's fly it.
It's almost ready to fly. If we would have gone up in the air right now, we wouldn't have filmed anything because Devin forgot to put the camera on. So, next step, we need to put the camera on. I highly recommend at this point turning your drone off. Why you want to do that is because as soon as you connect the camera and the gimbal to the power source, it's going to want to try and start leveling itself out and spinning around, and I just don't think that's good for anything. So we're going to turn the drone off and put the camera on.
So you push it once, then you hold it, correct?
Correct.
And now it's turned off. Drones for dummies.
So you're going to want to take this cap off. To do that, you just spin that to the right to the unlock. Take the cap off your camera as well. And you have a little line. See that little line? That's the line that you want to match up with that line. This is very important so that you have a good connection with your drone and that it is secured correctly. Otherwise the camera could fall out mid-flight, and nobody wants that because you lose your camera and you lose your memory card. Okay, so once I push it in, I'm going to rotate this to the left.
There's a lock symbol there too.
To the lock position. Once that's nice and tight, I give a little tug on the camera. It doesn't come out. I know we're good to go. Now we're good to fly. Now we're going to have to put it on the ground because when you turn the Inspire on, the first thing it does is it balances and calibrates the gimbal on the camera. That's a really common mistake. If you're on an uneven surface and you turn it on and then you're flying and you notice your horizon looks super janky like this and you're like, wait, my camera is sideways, what's going on? It's because when you turned your drone on, it wasn't on a level surface. Only way to fix it is to land, turn the drone off, get it level, turn it back on.
And there you have it. So when we actually fly, Carter will grab his master controller, I'll grab the slave controller, and we use an iPad mini, the newest version because it's fast enough. We'll literally place that right here. We will hook the iPad mini through USB to this controller, and I can actually see everything that this camera is seeing. So I'm controlling this camera while Carter's controlling the drone. Just like that. Now, as far as problems that we've run into a couple of problems. Just recently we did a video with Mercedes, and we would fly the drone up, and then we'd hit record on the actual controller, and then we'd say action, and then the controller or the camera would all of a sudden stop recording. That happened for about 2 hours, and we were so frustrated, ready to call it good, and we finally realized every time someone got on a walkie-talkie and said quiet on set or action, that signal would actually send a signal to this and have it stop recording. So we learned that the hard way, and we didn't get the shot we wanted as far as the sunlight because of that. So just know walkie-talkies, there's a couple things that will actually interfere with this. If you run into that problem, just know that ahead of time. What are other problems you've seen, Carter?
Yeah, I mean, the walkie-talkie, you just have to know what radio frequency your Inspire is working on, and if there's anything using that same radio frequency, such as a walkie-talkie, you can't have that in the same proximity. If you're running into those errors, it's doing weird stuff, check for that because it was the worst. I was more mad than I've probably ever been on set, but I kept my cool. It was good. Other problems that you have is the batteries. So these batteries, they're awesome. They last for about 15 minutes, but I would highly recommend when it says 30% and it says return to home, do that. The only bad things that happen to the batteries are between 0 and 30% when they're fully charged. Bring that baby back home. You don't want it just falling out of the sky. The other thing that you have to do is you have to charge them the night before you fly. If I charge them and then the next week I fly somewhere and I haven't charged them in 5 or 6 or 7 days, especially if they've been in a cold airplane, they will show that they are full, but they are not. And you will get about 15 feet in the air and it'll say 60, 70, even 90% battery. And out of nowhere, you'll get a low voltage warning and it'll say land now. That's the good scenario. The bad scenario that happened to Seth and I in our office parking lot when we were trying out a new feature on the drone was that with 77% battery, we got up 15 feet and out of nowhere, all power cut and the drone just fell out of the sky.
Explosions everywhere.
That is exactly how it happened. And why that happened was because 2 reasons. One, we hadn't charged them in probably 2 or 3 weeks because it was Christmas break. And we didn't charge them right before we used it. Even though it showed full, it wasn't. Secondly, about every probably 10 flights, I would say, you need to power cycle your batteries. What that means is you need to drain them all the way down and then charge them immediately back up. You can do that manually by just leaving it on, or they actually have devices that do that for you. You plug all your batteries in and they power cycle them for you.
Now, another couple of things. We've actually crashed 2 drones in our history as far as the Inspire 1 goes anyways. We had that incident happen, and then we shot a video in Canada where this actually got clipped by a power line. We saved the drone, but the camera actually got stuck to the power line. So those are 2 incidents that we've had. Every so often, we have a hard time flying this when we're surrounded by buildings or in canyons where you can't track the GPS. So it's just kind of figuring out where you can and can't fly. Never fly by an airport. You're not supposed to fly within 5 miles of that. Just be very cautious of where you're flying this. This is like a moving projectile. Like this will literally cut. See that, like that literally hurt. But if that's flying super fast, that can cut your face off. Not to get graphic on you guys. But yeah, this can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So if you're going to learn how to fly, do it in a field where there's no one nearby, especially children or animals. 2 things we never hurt.
Know the rules before you fly, because it's people who don't know the rules and do stupid things that make it worse for everybody.
You know who you are.
Yeah, you know who you are. Don't do it. You're making flying drones really hard for us, and we don't like you for it.
Yeah, and
but we love you.
Yeah, we do love you. And it's just commercially now that we're doing this commercially, there's a lot of rules and regulations within the FAA. So it's just knowing how to fly within those regulations to get what you want. A lot of times now when we're doing commercial shoots with higher companies, we have to have an actual real pilot that flies airplanes. They're the only ones allowed to do those on commercial shoots right now. That hopefully will change to fly drones as well. So we have to hire and pay a lot more money to hire those people to actually fly the drones when we're doing it commercially within that world, but hopefully that will change soon, who knows. But just know that there are rules and regulations, and just understand those, respect them the best you can, and yeah, they're just amazing the shots you can pull off with this device. So we'll leave links below on the Inspire 1. So when we're flying international, we take the drone in the actual case that we bought it in. It's right here. The zipper is not a good zipper. It often breaks. We've actually had to get a couple of these cases, but we'll send this international with us as we travel. We went to Greece, we send this with us. A rule though, when you're flying on airplanes with drones, that the batteries, they are a lot of power, and they should never be stuck in underneath the airplane. You should always bring the batteries, for anything that you're doing for that matter, but especially drone batteries, with you as a carry-on on the airplane. If you leave it in the case, if you get the case back, these batteries probably aren't going to be in there because it's not legal. At least in America and most places that we have traveled, they've always made sure that we carry the batteries with us. When we travel international, or if we travel to any shoot for that matter, we're usually bringing about 5 or 6 of these batteries. So these batteries last about 15 minutes and they take about a couple hours to charge. You always want to charge them right before your shoot. And you can literally push this button right here and it lights up how charged it is. But don't be deceived. If you haven't used these for a couple months and you take off with them, there's a chance that your airplane will lose the voltage that's actually put in here and will crash. We've learned that the hard way. We also wrote a checklist of how to prepare this drone for flight. It's basically the checklist that we go through when we're actually taking off, or it's at least the checklist that I use when I'm flying it. I've only flown it a couple times, but it's what I use to get off the ground. It's basically everything we covered right now. I'll have that down below in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Over and out.
Yeah, wham, bam, super tramp. And I tipping up my hat while I boost the fans. And I hover up top, can you feel the noise? All the girls scream now cause they want the boys. Yo, making all the clouds looking like a big joke. When I run so fast and I sing so low. And you never wanna mess with me, you're just testing me. I just set me free, so just stop. We